Hello everyone, Matt here from PCGamesN and I'm joined by Rich.
Hello.
And we are here to impart our knowledge about Destiny's classes. The beta has been on recently on PlayStation and will be coming up to PC very shortly in August. And that means that we've had chance to go hands-on with every single class that's been revealed in Destiny so far.
Yep.
So we know of 6 of subclasses that relates to Warlocks, Titans and Hunters, and we're going to run you through all 6 of them right now. We'll start with Warlocks, and we're going to go in with Dawnblade, which is one of the flashy new subclasses. We've never seen a Dawnblade in Destiny before, and basically these guys are incredibly powerful space wizards that can hurl fiery swords. So their Daybreak is their super, which are the big flashy abilities. You trigger those, and you get a flaming sword, and you can jump around and hurl these flaming swords at your enemies, almost like a lightsaber throw from Star Wars to a degree. The character has a variety of kind of like passive perks. So Everlasting Fire actually increases the duration of that super because it can feel quite short, but when that's engaged, you'll have a lot longer sort of time in your super. And Fated of the Flame will allow the projectiles that you throw to seek onto enemies, which makes it very, very useful. You also then get Phoenix Dive as a passive, which as you descend, it will heal your character, and also if your super's engaged, it will cause you to create quite a fiery explosion, making him a super useful kind of area of effects land kind of superhero move. You also get an aerial dodge, which is like the Twilight Garrison armor piece used to provide you with.
Yep.
Basically, you're a wizard on fire. I really like him. He's fairly fun to use. You do have Warlocks have a floating jump, as you'll know from previous Destiny sort of games and expansions. They've always had kind of this: you jump and then you float. I've always found that kind of makes me feel like a bit of a vulnerable target because you're so slow on your float.
Yeah. And the Dawnblade, unlike the Voidwalker, who we'll discuss in a minute, doesn't get a different kind of jump. So you do feel quite floaty, and that's especially true in the middle of the super, which makes you even floatier, right? It extends your hang time a lot. Having said that, it's not all a bad thing. People are already finding ways to use that long hang time to explore in PvE. We saw that a lot in the beta, so I can imagine some raid puzzles maybe, or some platforming sections that you'll need a Dawnblade for, so that'll be interesting to see how Bungie makes use of that. So that's the Dawnblade. Moving on, the second Warlock subclass is the Voidwalker. These will be the only subclass that we've seen so far that has a one and done super, apart from the Sentinel's Wall of Dawn, but we'll come on to that. So Nova Bomb is the super. It's basically a giant area of effect nuke. Every Voidlock in the beta had the Cataclysm perk forcibly equipped, right, which changed the behavior of Nova Bomb a lot. It made it much more slower moving, but very aggressively tracking, and it also enabled you to shoot it to detonate it prematurely. That's a very different Nova Bomb than we saw in the original Destiny. Maybe the second passive class tree, which doesn't have the Cataclysm perk, will cause it to behave more like we're used to, which is a much more faster, sort of instant effect explosion. Great for clearing out tightly clustered mobs, very damaging, but it's one cast and then it's over. So I wonder if, because it's one cast, Bungie felt the need to make up for that with a stronger neutral game. So Axion bolt grenades now are they're back, but they get 4 seeking bomblets as opposed to just the 1 or 2 in the original Destiny. There's a very cool ability as well, a new power for the Voidlock, to overcharge your grenade by draining your super. And that can give you some extra damage if you need it, if your super isn't charged yet. So that adds some flexibility, a new tactic if there's a situation that you're coming up against and your super isn't quite ready yet. Other perks also let you drain your melee to heal or to recharge your abilities with kills. So there's lots of internal energy conversion processes going on with Voidlock, which was similar to how it was designed in the original. And also Blink is back. We were talking about jumps with Dawnblade. Blink is a much snappier jump. It's a short-range teleport. It's unique to the Voidwalker now. The Arc Hunter had it in the original Destiny, no longer. It feels snappier to use than the nerfed version in the original, but it still temporarily disables your HUD, so after you blink you won't have your radar up anymore. That was a nerf that was made to the blink in the original Destiny because people were running around with shotguns and making life hell for everyone in the Crucible. Now that shotguns are power weapons, I wonder if this is still necessary, so maybe that's something we'll see tuned in the final game.
Right, we'll move on to Hunters, our kind of like roguish sort of class. The Gunslinger is back. We all know he was a popular chappy in the original Destiny. He comes with a very classic super. It allows you to use the golden gun, which is a wonderful solar-powered revolver, constantly on fire. It's quite a difficult super to use in compared to quite a lot of them. You actually have to have accuracy, right?
Yeah.
You need to be able to shoot people. It's a really powerful punch when it hits, but you do require a sort of like more of a steady hand, let's say. Deadshot is a passive that you can get, which will help increase that accuracy. But Six Shooter, in the way of the Outlaw tree, will actually reduce the duration of your super. So you do really need to be snappy with the way that you're using that. Way of the Sharpshooter, in terms of your other tree, is very much focused on precision, but you will build your super far quickly with each precision hit you get, so that is hitting a weak point like a head, or the Vex tends to be a slightly more different sort of area on their body, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Dodges are this class's like special move, right? So the
class ability.
Yeah, so Warlocks have rifts that they can open up, which can heal or increase the damage power that you're putting out. But with a Hunter, it's a dodge. And they seem kind of fine on paper, right? They're like a double tap of a button, and they will cause you to jump out of the way, and one like reloads your weapon, and the second one
recharges your melee if you're near enemies when you do it.
Seems fine on paper, less so when you're actually using it.
Yeah, quite a lot of people are unimpressed by this, and there's one of the consensus points from the community, from the beta, is that the Hunters could use a boost. Clearly they're inspired by Shade Step, which was a Hunter ability in Destiny 1, but when you Shade Stepped in Destiny 1, it neutralized aim assist on you, and it made the Hunter very hard to hit when you were jumping around. That doesn't happen in Destiny 2, so you're moving out of the way of enemy fire, but you are easier to hit when you're doing it. One of many reasons for the dodge is naffness, as it were. The cooldown is still quite lengthy on it. One suggestion that I saw, which I quite like, is to have the dodge be available at all times, but it needs to be charged in order to activate the secondary effect, kind of like with a melee, right? You can always melee attack, but it needs to be charged in order to activate the secondary effect. So that might be a nice solution.
Sure.
Moving on to the Arcstrider, the second Hunter class. It's Arc Elemental, sort of lightning powered. I underwhelmed some people, I think, from the beta, but arguably it's the high skill class, right? So people have posted videos of them absolutely wrecking with the Arcstaff super, but many others complain that it's hard to use and feels weak. It does last longer than most supers, so there's that. So it has that advantage, but during that time it's only melee attack, and it's quite hard to close the distance because of the way the movement feels now. Again, there are montages of people sort of jumping up in the air, using the attack abilities and the dash abilities and the dodge abilities to sort of close those gaps quite quickly, but it looks like it'll take a lot of practice to be able to do that. On the grenade side, these Arcstriders have skip grenades. They are one of the best for PvP in Destiny right now, but grenades in general have felt a little underpowered in the beta, so everyone's a little bit underwhelmed still. As for the passive trees, one passive tree in the Arcstrider buffs your dodges and your melee attacks. There's a perk that adds extra range and a lightning bolt to your melee. There's another which recharges your dodge with melee kills. And there's another which adds a second Arcstaff attack after a dodge. So that's good for melee, and it's good for damage when you're doing your super. And I can see what they're going for with that, like a close range melee DPS. The other skill tree is a little bit less clear. It's less clear to me what they're going for with this. It's a weird mix of perks that don't really complement each other all that much. One makes you faster and shortens your dodge cooldown while you're sprinting. Another toughens you up while you're dodging in your super. A third speeds up your ability cooldowns when you're wounded. I guess the focus is mobility, but I have to say I don't really get what playstyle they're encouraging here. It's all a bit situational, you know. They only activate when you're sprinting, when you're wounded, when you're dodging. So, yeah, I think we mentioned with the Gunslinger that Hunters probably need some help. I think Hunters in general, particularly with the dodge, and Arcstriders in particular, are the most likely candidates to change quite a lot between the beta and release. If that doesn't happen, I'd say run the top tree and build around your super for the best results, but they're not. Arcstrider is not an easy class.
Right, and that brings us to our heavy guys, our big titans, of which the Striker is returning. His Fist of Havoc, which is his super, is just incredibly fun and mobile, right? We're used to it being a slightly more static super in the original Destiny.
It was one of those one and done things.
Yeah,
like
very much. Jump forward, smash. Now he's kind of essentially like the Incredible Hulk, right? That's charged with arc power. You run around, you shoulder barge into people, you've got lightning sort of just erupting all around you. He's incredibly...
You can still do the jump and slam.
You can, yes. He's just incredibly fun and mobile and aggressive to use. His Code of the Earth Shaker passive tree allows you to shoulder slam enemies with an arc explosion, and that explosion will actually then recharge your grenade. And this creates a nice little combo, because when you've got the magnitude passive that grants an additional grenade charge, it means that you can be chaining these together to sort of like pop off more grenades, more shoulder bash explosions. You're a very volatile character, basically.
That's an especially big deal with a lightning grenade, which is one of the best. Even though it's not as powerful as it was in the original, I don't think, it's still one of the most impressive grenades out of a fairly underwhelming bunch.
Then obviously Titans, their class ability are barriers. There are two different ones. You can create a large one or a small one. The large one I think is very, very good for aerial denial. Like if there's a pathway that you want to stop, you can sort of like put that up.
I've seen a lot of people in PvP just sort of jumping onto a control point and putting up a screen of barricades, like 4 Titans in a team, just kind of lock down a point using that.
You noticed a really good tactic you can use with a shorter barrier.
In PvE, so the shorter barricade is called Rally Barricade. You put that up. It doesn't offer as much screening as the first one, but you can fire over the top of it. And when you crouch behind a Rally Barricade, you'll instantly reload. So there's obvious potential for DPS in PvE with this. Basically, put a Warlock Rift behind it with a damage maximizing buff. Use Sweet Business, which does more damage the longer that it's fired, and just stand there, shoot, double tap, crouch to reload, keep shooting. You'll throw out massive damage. I can see that being a DPS, the sort of DPS meta when it comes to the raid.
Yeah, absolutely. That leaves us with Captain America himself, the Sentinel.
Yes, indeed.
One of my favourite looking supers that I think I've ever seen in Destiny.
I think it's also potentially the best out of all, and certainly the most versatile out of all the ones that we've seen. It can do nearly everything. Like you can throw the shield to get ranged kills. You can bash it in melee to get instant melee kills. You can block with it to absorb a lot of damage. Maybe, like depending on the sort of radius of that block, you can get people behind you to cover them. And in one of the skill trees, you can get a Ward of Dawn. So Ward of Dawn was the Void Titans super in the original. Basically, it's a huge bubble that protects everyone inside, and also confers a buff. And so you've got a choice. As long as you equip that perk, you've got a choice between that or the conventional Sentinel shield. So you've got a ton of versatility with this class, and that's reflected in the passives. So Code of the Protector makes you the tanking class. That gives you the overshield that gives you an overshield and group healing for people around you when you kill an enemy with a charged melee, and it also gives you the Ward of Dawn. The second tree ups your damage potential. It gives you a second shield throw plus a shield bash attack, and lots of ways to charge your grenade and your super. And on that note, let's consider the Sentinel grenades. One of the highlights has to be the Suppressor grenade. This shuts down enemy abilities. It's great for annoying people in PvP by switching their supers off. It's especially annoying actually, given that the super recharge rates in PvP are now so slow. Many players are only getting one super per match. Imagine how annoying it is to just have that switched off by someone throwing a suppressor grenade at you. Sentinels also get the Void Wall grenade, which was exclusive to the Night Stalker in the original Destiny, so that's notable as well.
Right, okay, so there are two kind of components, I guess, that make up roughly what people focus on in Destiny. That's PvE and PvP. In your opinion, Rich, if people are going to be going mostly for PvE, they want a character that's focused around that, what class should they be choosing?
Based on the beta, the Sentinel. It's not really a contest, actually. It's quite clearly the obvious choice. Lots of flexibility, lots of things that you can do. Ideally, you want a Warlock with you as backup. That way, the Sentinel can drop the Rally Barricade, the Warlock can drop a Healing Rift or a damage booster behind you. But yeah, for versatility, tanking, healing, DPS, the Sentinel can kind of do it all, it looks like.
Sure. And let's say you were more a competitive person, you're going in for PvP. What's your choice for a PvP class?
Well, Sentinel still wouldn't be a bad choice, but if you're good with Arcstrider or if you're playing in a tight map, then potentially that. Otherwise, go with Striker.
Nice. That's our look at all of the Destiny 2 classes and subclasses that have been revealed so far. They're all going to be playable in the beta when it turns up on PC later in August. They're all pretty good fun, but we've definitely got our favourites as we've outlined there. Until next time though, good luck and have fun.
Take care.